Good morning, everyone. The time for convening has arrived. Senate will come to order. At this time, I'll ask all unauthorized personnel to exit the chamber. I recognize the senator from the 6th. The reading of the journal.
Good morning, Mr. President. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Everybody had an exciting Super Bowl Sunday. Watching them Eagle Dogs put it to them. Mr. President, we got cut me off. Got a great roster of pages today. Out of Cumming, Georgia, we have Sri Meda Gangalareddy. Also out of Cumming, we have Addison Jones. Out of Livonia, we have Nathan Estrada. Out of Toccoa, Blair Huddleston. From Carnesville, we have Robert Little. Out of Waycross, Baylor Peacock. From Loganville, we have Journey D'Aguilar. Out of Stone Mountain, Gabriella Daniel. Out of Cumming, Daniel Dree. Out of Richmond Hill, Brooke Glazier. Out of Mableton, Caden Kirkland. Out of Marietta, we have Addison Longo. Out of Johns Creek, we have Anuva Reddy Mulamala. Out of Atlanta, we have Will Noble. Out of Atlanta, Lawrence Winkles. From Sparta, Peyton Wingard. From Marietta, Kamani Chisholm. From Savannah, we have Reed Delaney, Charles Morris, and Walker Peters. Again, all out of Savannah. Mr. President, and ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, y'all give these pages a big round of applause. We appreciate y'all being here. Looking forward to working with you today to do the people's business in this Georgia State Senate. Mr. President, the journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you, Senator. Did you watch the game last night, Senator?
I did. I watched every bit of it. It was a good game up until about 2 minutes into the game.
All right. Sound like a dedicated fan to me.
Oh, I watched the whole thing. The Chiefs did not watch the whole thing, apparently.
Poor Mahomes. All right. Is there objection to the dispensing of the reading of the journal? Chair hears none. The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? Chair hears none. The journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk. First reading and references to Senate bills. Secretary.
Senate Bill 116 by Senator Bearden of the 30th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to DNA sampling, collection, and analysis.
Public safety.
Senate Bill 117 by Senator Williams of the 25th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to general provisions regarding public officers and employees so as to provide
Government oversight.
Senate Bill 118 by Senator Lucas of the 26th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5B
Rules.
of Title. Senate Bill 119 by Senator Goodman of the 8th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Subpart 1 of Part 4 of Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 8 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to general provisions.
Banking.
Senate Bill 120 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 1 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to general provisions relative to education so as to provide that public schools, local education agencies, and public post-secondary
Higher
institutions.
education.
Senate Bill 121 by Senator Harbin of the 16th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-7-11 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to uninsured.
Insurance and labor.
Senate Bill 122 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 3 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to alcoholic beverages so as to provide
Regulated industries.
Senate Bill 123 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Subpart 2 of Part 1 of Article 16 of the
Education and youth.
Senate Bill 124 by Senator Still, the 48th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated.
Education and youth.
Senate Bill 125 by Senator Walker of the 20th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 15 of Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia
Regulated industries.
Senate Bill 126 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-2-29 296.1 of the official.
Education and Youth.
Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary reads reports of standing committee.
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Assignments has under consideration the following appointments to the Judicial Qualifications Commission. Mr. James L. Corsi, appointed by the Speaker of the House. Honorable Brian M. Rickman, appointed by the Supreme Court. The committee has also had under consideration the following appointments to the Judicial Legal Defense Fund Commission. Mr. Brad Vaughn, appointed by the Lieutenant Governor. Honorable Todd Markle, appointed by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. The committee has also had under consideration the appointments made by the Governor which require Senate confirmation and were submitted to the Senate on January 31st, 2025, and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation: that the appointments be confirmed as submitted. Respectfully submitted, Honorable Burt Jones, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation: Senate Bill 10, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 9, do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 12, do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 42nd District, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules has under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Pursuant to Senate Rule 2-1.10B of the Committee on Rules has referred the following legislation from the general calendar. Senate Bill 44 to the Committee on Rules. Respectfully submitted, Senator Brass of the 6th District, Chairman. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary read bills for a second time.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Dolezal, the 27th, and others, state income tax, exclude tips from taxation. Senate Bill 7 by Senator Albers, the 56th, and others, jail certain municipal corporations, make municipal detention facilities or jails available for use by a sheriff require. Senate Bill 21 by Senator Tillery, the 19th, and others, local governments, violation of the prohibition on immigration sanctuary policies, waive sovereign and governmental immunities. Senate Bill 47 by Senator Anna Vitarte, the 31st, and others, sales and use taxes, sales of firearms, ammunition, gun safes, and related accessories during an 11-day period each year, exempt. Senate Bill 58 by Senator Albers of the 56th, and others, Georgia Transporting Life-Saving Organs and Personnel Act, enact. Senate Bill 64 by Senator Dixon, the 45th, and others, local government and state government, certain transactions between government entities and require foreign persons prohibit. Senate Bill 84 by Senator Albers of the 56th, and others, special license plates, specialty license plate honoring the Shepherd Center, establish. Mr. President, that completes the order. Senate Resolution 23 by Senator Cowsert of the 46th, and others, U.S. Congress, limited to proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to set a limit on the number of terms that a person may be elected, apply to call a convention. Senate Resolution 95 by Senator Dolezal of the 27th, and others, Sonny Perdue Legislative Center, naming the forthcoming new legislative office complex. Senate Resolution 96 by Senator Dixon of the 45th, and others, Purebred Dog Day, recognized May 1st, 2025. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? I recognize the senator from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 27th for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, senator from the 27th is excused. Recognize senator from the 33rd is waving off. Wow. It's the first. Any other motions to excuse? Senator from the 15th.
Yes, yes, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 10th.
From the 10th. Without objection, senator from the 10th is excused. Secretary will call the roll, senators. Signify your presence by voting the yay switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for our morning devotion. All sinners, please take your seats and cease all conversation. I would ask the doorkeepers to secure the chamber at this time. Our chaplain of the day is my guest. Is Pastor Billy Smith from Zebulon, Georgia. He does a fantastic job at Christ Chapel Community Church there in Zebulon. But before I introduce him, lead us in our pledge of allegiance to the American flag and the state flag. American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Georgia flag. Pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the principle for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Pastor Billy Smith is somebody who's a dear friend to me, and somebody who is doing a fantastic job in Zebulon, Georgia, a little town south of Atlanta here. Many of you may or may not have heard of, but it's one of those communities that is a growing community, and it is growing by leaps and bounds, and it's growing because it's a nice place to live. It's got a good school system, and there's plenty of good places to go worship on Sundays. And Pastor Billy is definitely represents one of those places at Christ Chapel Church. So please give a warm welcome to Pastor Billy Smith.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to share briefly this morning. Language has a way of shifting over time. Even words change. 25 years ago, if you're a man in the room and you went home and told your wife she was a goat, that would be met with criticism. But today that word has shifted, and it means something completely different. To say somebody's the GOAT is actually a compliment. It means they're the greatest of all time. There's some arguments about GOATs. If you're a basketball fan, especially from this generation, you probably would say LeBron James is the best guy who ever laced up the sneakers to play. If you're from my generation, you would say, no way, that was the smooth as silk Michael Jordan jump shot. That's the GOAT. If you're older than me, maybe you would say it was Wilt Chamberlain. You saw him dominate on the court. And there's an argument over who the GOAT is. If it was soccer we were talking about, maybe you would say Messi or Ronaldo. In the business world, if you're talking about the GOAT, maybe you would talk about Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. People who are at the peak of what they do for a living. But as Christ followers, and many of you are, and of course I am as a pastor, the regulation of being a GOAT in Scripture is defined much differently. Jesus was talking to some followers, and he said this in Mark chapter 10, verse 43 and 45. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must become a servant. I mean, that's really, that's a stark contrast from what our Western society teaches. And then he goes on to say, for even the Son of Man, speaking of himself, did not come to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. It seems that Jesus is indicating in Scripture that the GOAT is not conditioned upon status, but maybe conditioned upon service. And Jesus was not just the man who taught the Word, he was the guy who lived out the Word. He was always modeling servanthood. In the passage where the Passover meal was happening, many of us call that the Last Supper, there were two guys in the room who were full of themselves. Their names were James and John. And in this pivotal conversation, they were arguing at the Last Supper over who was the greatest. And they're sitting at the table with Jesus now, and they're arguing over who is the greatest in the room. Even saying, when you take over a kingdom, thinking that Jesus would have a kingdom on earth, can I sit on your left and my brother sit on your right? And all the while, Jesus was looking around the room, and he said, you know what I see in the room? I see proud hearts and dirty feet. The custom of that time would have been to position someone at the door to take care of the cleaning that was necessary of people's feet to properly be prepared to take of the meal. And that detail had been overlooked. And Jesus was watching the guys at the table saying, is anybody going to step up? Will anybody do that menial task that nobody really wants to do? Until he decided, if you won't do it, I will. When the God of all authority decides he can wash feet, I think the rest of us can take care of business as well, serving others. The Bible says that Jesus got up, took off his outer clothing, wrapped a towel around his waist, and after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. At times, I have to be honest, just to be transparent, I've seen needs that I walk past. My own arrogance, my pride, my self-importance, my selfishness often gets in the way. I guess if you were going to paraphrase Scripture today, it would be this: find the need and meet it, and find the hurt and heal it. Find the need and meet it, and find the hurt and heal it. The last few weeks I've been watching some of my friends serve other people, and I was pretty impressed. I have a friend who took 2 days off of work to help another friend, a mutual friend of ours, move his furniture in his house to another town. You got to really love your friend to help him move. Can I get an amen this morning, right? I watched another friend of mine who takes 3 afternoons a month, very successful in business, very busy man. A lot of taxing on his time. People want his attention. And 3 afternoons a month, he walks into a school and he mentors young boys who have made some bad decisions. He saw a need and said, I can do that. At our church, with the influx of people that we see on Sundays, we've asked people recently to serve others by going to a different campus or going to a different service time. So if a family comes in of 5, they can sit together. The seats are getting scarce. And I've watched people change their entire Sunday experience at church to serve somebody that they may never even meet in the future. I guess the conclusion is this: it's impossible to say I love Jesus and not serve people. It's impossible for me to say I love Jesus and not serve people. Scripture says we're all looking forward to this if we're believers, to hear the Lord speak over us one day. Well done, good and faithful servant. He didn't say senator, and he didn't say pastor. He didn't say businessman or entrepreneur. He said, I want to say over you, well done, good and faithful servant. I pray for God to give us all ears to hear and eyes to see the needs that are all around us. Would you stand and let's have a word of prayer to open up your day today? God, you've been so good to us. You're faithful in our lives. I pray for this room today that the decisions that are made will honor you. I pray for the leadership of this state. I value what they do. I appreciate them and their service. I pray that you bless them. And I pray those things today in the wonderful name of Christ. Amen. Thank you, guys.
We have with us today, we have a number of special guests, but before we get into our designated guests of the day, I want to introduce to you our doctor of the day, which we always appreciate our physicians coming down here and volunteering their time. I've got a Dr. Robert Newman, who's a cardiologist from DeKalb County with Kaiser Permanente, and we appreciate Dr. Newman being here today. And let's give Dr. Newman a round of applause and thank him for being here.
Thank you all very thank you all very much. Good morning. So my name is Rob Newman. I am a cardiologist. I trained at Emory and spent a lot of time at Grady across the street. I wanted to thank this body. As a native Georgian, I grew up in Norcross, the son of two public school teachers, a high school principal, and a math teacher, and a product of Georgia public schools. I attended medical school in part at Emory thanks to the support and scholarship provided by this legislature. And I've enjoyed practicing around the state, including Atlanta, Brazelton, Livonia, Gainesville, Winder, and Jonesboro, Georgia. And I know, unfortunately, that heart disease remains the leading killer of Georgians. I wanted to thank you for all that you do in support of practicing physicians and in support of the health of Georgians. Please do come visit at the aid station today. Hopefully you don't need me, but if you do, I'm here and also happy to chat about your heart health. If that's something that's of interest today. Again, thank you so much. Appreciate being here with you today.
All right, good job. We have a special guest here with me today, both here and in the gallery. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 129 by Senator Mallow II and others, a resolution recognizing February 10th, 2025 as Blue and White Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas the men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated continue to exemplify the high ideals of their distinguished founders' belief of culture for service and service for humanity with 56 active chapters throughout the great state of Georgia. And whereas the Georgia chapters of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated continuously strive to improve the communities they work and reside in by establishing service projects designed to eliminate physical and mental health inequities, mobilize and educate voters, and empower a previously marginalized citizenry. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize February 10th, 2025 as Blue and White Day at the state capitol, commend the combined efforts of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and extend the most sincere best wishes for future success. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. I recognize the good, go ahead, clap. Recognize the good senator and proud member, the senator from the second, to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm a proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. and I am the only Sigma in the General Assembly. And before that, we only had one Zeta in the General Assembly at the time, and that was my good soror Freddie Powell Sims. And now we're joined by one of our freshman colleagues, Senator Kenya Wicks, who's also a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I have a distinguished panel of gentlemen behind me, but I'd like to recognize our State Director, Dr. Walter Stevens, to come and introduce the rest of our distinguished guests this morning. Thank you all for recognizing Blue and White Day at the Capitol and having on your blue today. It is the greatest fraternity known to man.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Mallow. Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing us to be here on this morning. Just like to bring you greetings on behalf of our 36th International President, the Honorable Brother Chris V. Ray, J.D. And I have with me on this morning our first vice here in the state of Georgia, Brother Ken Love, our State Director of Social Action, Brother Ucal Palmer. We have our Regional Director here with us as well, Brother Kenneth Straughter. And we have a good brother with us as well, Brother Brandon Brim, who is over military affairs for the region. So again, thank you all so much for allowing us to be here with you on this morning.
All right. Good job. Good job. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 111 by Senator Wicks of the 34th and others, a resolution recognizing February 10th, 2025 as Blue and White Day at the State Capitol and for other purposes. Whereas the ladies of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, a community-conscious, action-oriented organization, continue to fulfill the vision of their founders with 60 active chapters throughout the great state of Georgia, and whereas the Georgia chapters of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated fervently strive to improve their communities by establishing projects and programs that advocate for social well-being, mental and physical health, and economic justice. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body recognize February 10th, 2025 as Blue and White Day at the State Capitol, commend the combined efforts of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated and Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and extend the most sincere best wishes for future success. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Okay. It is good to have two proud members of the sorority with us, Senator from the 12th and Senator from the 34th District. And at this time, I'll recognize the Senator from the 34th to speak to the resolution. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Myself and Senator Sims are proud members of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I want to introduce our Regional Director, Sora Pearson.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here this morning. We are so proud to represent our organization, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and to represent for our brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. With me today is our State Board Chair, Amelia Roberson, our Social Action Coordinators, Fern Clark and Donna Harmon, and my Chief of Staff for the region, Sarah Shannon McGuire Lee. So again, we thank you all for this resolution. We thank you for allowing us to address you here at the Assembly, and we appreciate all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Georgia. And I just want to also make sure I recognize the finer women in the gallery this morning who are a sea of blue and white representing. So thank you so much.
Good job. Good job. We have some more guests here, educators that we're always proud to have. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 87 by Senator Hodges III and others, a resolution recognizing and commending communities in schools and for other purposes. Whereas Communities in Schools, CIS, has highly trained site coordinators in schools across the state who assess students' needs and partner with local businesses, social service agencies, healthcare providers, and community volunteers to provide disadvantaged students with the resources they need to exceed in school and in life. And whereas from 2024 to 2025, CIS provided services to over 120,000 students in nearly 50 school districts and partnered with 223 schools across Georgia, achieving significant improvements in academic outcomes for case-managed students. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body honor Communities in Schools for its tremendous service to the youth of Georgia and extend best wishes for continued success. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Recognize the senator from the 3rd to speak to the resolution and introduce our guest of the day. Senator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I'm here today to recognize an organization that does really good work in our state. And they do that really good work with our most precious resource, our children. We're here today to honor Communities in School Georgia. They are the state's leading dropout prevention organization. They provide services to 120,000 students to 50 school districts. They're partnered with 223 schools in Georgia. They get really good results. 98% of the communities and schools students graduate. 73% of the students with attendance problems improve. 98% of kindergarten through 8th grade students were promoted. 70% of CIS students with discipline problems improved. And 76% improved their academic levels through their activity with communities and schools. Have with us today Ms. Carol Lewis, who is the president and CEO of Communities and Schools. She's going to introduce her group. Ms. Lewis.
Good morning, President and Senator. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity not only to share with you what Communities and Schools is and what it does, but your continued support allowed us to serve over 120,000 students across the state of Georgia in 2024. For the last 35 years, Communities and Schools has replicated programs outside of the Atlanta area to work with students who are most at risk for school failure. It is our honor I'd like to introduce some of our longest standing executive directors who have been part of Communities and Schools for over 30 years. To my left, I have Tabitha Coverson, who is now a regional director serving Troup County. Becky Gay, who is with Ben Hill Fitzgerald, serving the Southwest Georgia area. And also two of our board members, Vice President of our board, or Vice Chairman of our board, Arlethea Perry Johnson, and our Chairman of our board, Joseph Lillyblad. It is with your support and your investment in Communities and Schools that we are able to achieve those results of graduating over, for the highest risk students, 98% of the students that we serve that graduate high school. We'd like to thank you again for your continued support for over 28 years that the Assembly has invested in Communities and Schools and its work across the state of Georgia. We're now in 50 districts, but it's because of you and the investments that you have made that we are able to do that. And we'd like to thank you very much. Thank you. We do have CIS staff members in our gallery, if they would stand. Thank you so much.
Good job. Good job. We have all our co-ops are down here today. All our EMCs are here, and I know I've got a bunch of them back here behind me. I know there's a bunch over in the house, and you'll probably see them in the hallways. But I would advise you, you newcomers, you better get to know your co-op members. So they are more than likely voters. So and they watch what we do down here, so you better be kind to them. Recognize the Secretary for the reading of the resolution.
Senate Resolution 133 by Senator Gooch, the 51st, and others. A resolution congratulating the Georgia Electric Membership Corporation on 85 years of service and recognizing February 10th, 2025 as Georgia EMC Day at the state capitol and for other purposes. Whereas EMCs are member-owned, not-for-profit utilities that collectively serve approximately 4.4 million people, nearly half of Georgia's population, across 73% of the state's land area, and whereas Georgia EMC is the statewide trade association representing the state's 41 EMCs, Oglethorpe Power Corp., Georgia Transmission Corp., and Georgia System Operations Corp. And whereas for the last 85 years, Georgia EMC has represented this network of member cooperatives who are committed to providing safe, reliable, and affordable electricity to communities across the state, along with other essential services such as broadband. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body congratulate the Georgia Electric Membership Corporation for 85 years of service and recognize February 10th, 2025 as Georgia EMC Day at the state capitol. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. Recognize the majority leader. Speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Senators. It's a great privilege of mine to be here this morning to speak on behalf of the Senate, showing our appreciation to the many hard-working days and nights that these men and women that represent our 41 EMCs do for us across the state, especially last year with all of the horrific damage from Hurricane Helene. But today we're here to celebrate their birthday. They're 85 years old this year, and the EMCs are committed to providing, obviously, reliable and affordable electricity throughout the rural parts of our state. Georgia's 41 EMC cooperatives serve approximately 4.4 million Georgians and employ more than 6,000 workers, powering homes, businesses, and industries across the state and our schools as well. With over 195,000 miles of electric power lines, our EMCs maintain the largest distribution network in Georgia. Their impact goes way beyond energy delivery. They are essential to economic development, supporting both large and small businesses through low-cost dependent power, job creation, and of course, rural infrastructure expansion. In times of crisis, just as I said earlier, during Hurricane Helene, these men and women can be seen all over our state. They're literally relocated from the north end of the state to the south end of the state and vice versa, depending on where the storms are and where the need is at the time. Today, I'm honored to be joined by the Georgia EMC President and CEO, Mr. Dennis Chastain, who is a native of Toccoa, Georgia. He is a 1984 graduate of the University of Georgia and a 1999 graduate of Leadership, Georgia. Mr. Chastain also serves on the Georgia Chamber of Commerce Board of Governors and the 4-H Foundation Board of Directors, demonstrating his deep commitment to Georgia's prosperity. I'd also like to recognize the other gentleman on the stage here behind me, and that is Mr. Eddie Gore from the Carroll EMC, Mr. Mike Goodrow and Gary Porter from Sawney EMC, and Todd Payne of the Amicalola EMC. Thank you, gentlemen, for your leadership and your service to our critical industry in our state. As we celebrate these past 85 years, let us recognize the vital role that our EMCs have played in powering Georgia's future, not just through electricity, but through innovation, resilience, and community service. Thank you for your dedication to keeping Georgia strong and moving forward. I'd also like to give a special thanks and a personal thank you to the 41 EMCs that are here today for the work that they've done on expanding our rural broadband for the last 6 years. Many of you have helped on that effort through the passage of SB 2 back in 2019. Out of the 41 EMCs in Georgia, 25 of the EMCs now offer rural broadband through our state, and they have made a significant impact on connecting our homes, our schools, our small businesses, and the like throughout the world through the internet service. So thank you for your work on electricity and also for all your work on expanding rural broadband. So I will turn the microphone over to Mr. Dennis Chastain. Y'all please give him a warm Senate welcome.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Senator Gooch, and thank you, Governor Jones, and all of you who are members of the Senate. We really appreciate your recognition of our 85 years of service to the citizens of Georgia. I also want to thank this body for your sensible energy policy. That has led to a very stable energy market in the state of Georgia that's the envy of a lot of our neighboring states and is one of the cornerstone and pillars of promoting economic development in our state. I also would be remiss if I didn't what Senator Gooch just talked about. Did not thank this body for your passage of Senate Bill 2 back in 2019. That gave the EMCs the statutory authority to enter the broadband business, and I'm proud to say that since that passage of that bill, many of our EMCs are now providing vital broadband, high-speed broadband services in many of the rural communities of the state, and we're very proud of that, and thank you for you allowing us to do that. Again, thank you for recognizing us, and we appreciate everything that you do for us.
Are there any unanimous consents? Chair hears none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Recognize the senator from the 32nd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two things to mention to y'all this morning. One is on your desk, you're going to find some information about cell phones in schools. And we're going to have a hearing about this tomorrow afternoon in the Children and Families Committee at 1 o'clock. So we've got some outside experts coming in to testify. So if you want to learn more or if you have an opinion about cell phones in schools, please join us at 1 o'clock tomorrow. The second thing I'll say is that we have a group from the Cobb Chamber Government Affairs Committee up in the gallery with us. If you guys could wave. There are about 30 people down here at the Capitol today, and the committee is chaired by Bert Reeves. Some of y'all may remember that name from when he served in the House. And then we also have our CEO, Sharon Mason, John Loud, the former chair, and Greg Teague, former chair. So if you guys would help me give them a warm summit welcome. Thank you. I yield the well.
Thank you, Senator. I was just reminded one of our members had a birthday yesterday. Senator from the 9th. Won't you stand up and let everybody see you celebrating 32 years of blissfulness, right? Recognize the senator from the 35th for a point of personal privilege.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. President, colleagues, I rise this morning to confirm the rumor you heard this morning is indeed true. I am indeed giving each one of you cake to mark the 40th anniversary of the Georgia Quality Basic Education Funding Formula. That's right, 40 years. I find that number to hit close to home because I am myself 41 years old, and Georgia's funding formula is almost as old as I am. But let me tell you, unlike me, the QBE formula has not changed much over the last 4 decades. When I was a kid growing up in the south side of Columbus, Georgia, I thought I knew everything. Life was simple, with school, friends, and playing outside until the streetlights came on. Fast forward to today, though, and I'm a husband, a parent, a lawyer, a small business owner, and a legislator with responsibilities that require me to learn, to grow, and to adapt. If I approached my family and my work the way I did when I was a kid, it wouldn't work out too well for me. But that's exactly what we're doing with our education funding in Georgia. The QBE formula, when it was created back in 1985, was groundbreaking. But the world has changed dramatically since then. Our classrooms don't look the same, our students' needs have evolved, and our job market is entirely different. Just think about it. In 1985, there were no smartphones, there was no internet, there were very few discussions about mental health, yet we are still funding our education system as if time stood still. This outdated approach has real consequences. Schools in growing communities struggle to keep up with demand. Teachers often spend time and money providing basic supplies for their students. And rural schools, which are facing declining enrollment, are grappling with shrinking budgets and fewer resources. Colleagues, our students and teachers deserve better. And what increases the urgency for change is the shifting national dynamic, where federal education funding is at risk. With President Trump and Elon Musk threatening to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education, we must be proactive and take control of our educational future. We shouldn't limit ourselves to merely providing a quality basic education. Our children deserve an education that prepares them for success and equips them for the future. Georgia's investment in education should reflect a commitment to nurturing innovators, thinkers, and leaders who will shape our future for decades to come. We need a funding formula that reflects the realities of 2025, not 1985. A formula that takes into account modern technology, diverse student needs, mental health resources, and the importance of vocational training. We need to ensure that every student, whether they are in an urban school or a rural community, has the resources they need to thrive. I know that changing this formula can be hard, but I am confident that with the right leadership, we can get it done. It will require tough conversations and hard decisions. And in the past, there have been attempts to do this. In fact, Governor Nathan Deal made the most recent attempt to change it nearly 10 years ago. But revamping the formula is essential, y'all, especially with funding at the federal level in jeopardy. The time to change it is now, and we have no time to waste. Just like I had to evolve from a carefree kid into a responsible adult over 4 decades, Georgia has to evolve its approach to funding education, and we owe it to our children and to the future of our state. Colleagues, let's not wait another year to get this right. Mr. President, I yield the well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I recognize the senator from the 56.
Senators, if I can have your attention. Every day, our first responders in this state leave their homes and their families with the great hope and prayer they'll come home after that shift. On Friday night, though, Roswell police officer Jeremy Levante did not come home. He was shot multiple times by a repeat offender. His young wife, his family, my community, and department grieves at the loss of a 24-year-old who had served honorably for the last 3 years on the department. He gave the last full measure of devotion for my town of Roswell. And Mr. President, I would ask for a moment of silence for Officer Jeremy Levante, his family, my community, and city.
Please stand and at the senator's request for a moment of silence.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire community of Roswell and the law enforcement agency which he belonged to. So thank you for that, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 42nd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tomorrow morning, if you would like to spend a little time with your Superior Court judges, they'll be up here for breakfast, and they're going to be in room 132 at 8 o'clock in the morning. Again, your Superior Court judges. You never know if you have to go back home and get in front of them one day. It's better to get in front of them up here first and not back home. So 8 o'clock in the morning. Thank you all.
Recognize the senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a group here today that is important and special to our family. Today is the Georgia ACTE Day at the Capitol. We have 2,400 career technical and agricultural education teachers, administrators, and school counselors across the state. My understanding is we have 125 members here today from the 24-25 lead CTAE class. My wife, Kara, is the CTAE director and a teacher at Clinch County High School. Kara, if you're watching, I love you. Also want to recognize Dustin O'Neill and Harley Johnson, who work with Kara, they're ag teachers. And finally, to Dustin Philpott, who is the construction teacher and a great American. He is the Charlie Daniels of the skill saw. And Dustin, we appreciate you. We appreciate all of our CTAE educators, what they mean in the lives of our young people. And would y'all want to stand and be recognized? There we go. Thank y'all. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. And with that, Mr. President, I'll yield the will.
Thank you, Senator. Darn right they drive all the way up here. Yeah, they want to be recognized, Senator. Glad to have y'all. Thank y'all for being here today. Recognize the senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I rise to say, fly, Eagles, fly. On the road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight. Score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit them low, hit them high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly. I forget the rest. EAGLES, Eagles. I remember that part. I have a dear friend from Haddonfield, New Jersey, what we would call a suburb of Philadelphia. And I know today he's living it up, for I know he was last night. Just want to say congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. Very proud of all the Georgia Bulldogs that fought to get to that point. And all the SEC players that we got to watch play last night. Very proud of all of them. Go Dogs. I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 30th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to come up today to talk about a good friend. If you're in the farming community or definitely in the FFA, you definitely know the name Terry England. Terry is the Chief of Staff of the Speaker of the House. This weekend, Terry was in an accident on his farm. And I just wanted to come up here and say, if you don't know Terry, I had the honor of coming in as a freshman class in 2005 with him. Terry is the type, unless he was in appropriations, if you needed something, he would go without to make sure that you get what you need. He is just that great of an individual. Terry and his wife has a long road ahead of them. I'm going to ask that you not stand in a moment of silence, but stand in a moment of personal prayer and ask the Lord to raise him up, him and his family in spirits, and a quick recovery for Terry.
Senators requested a moment of prayer.
Amen. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator, I appreciate you reminding me that because, Terry England is a good friend. He's a good friend to not just this chamber, but everybody in the building. He is a longtime public servant, both as elected official and as serving in the role as Chief of Staff for the Speaker of the House. It was an unfortunate accident on his farm this past weekend. I know he had to have surgery, and he has got a long road ahead of him, but he is stable, and we'll just keep our thoughts and prayers for Terry and his wife Cindy. So, thank you, Senator, for reminding me of that as well. So, recognize the senator from the 13th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I've done this now 3 times, and I just want to look at my colleagues out here in the room and tell you this right here. Can you hear this? A lot of people can't. And I'm here today because today is National Hearing Day in Georgia, and I want to recognize these 4 people that are over here that are here representing the 611 total hearing centers in Georgia. We have Mr. Robert Shoemaker with us. Mr. Ralph Jackson, I'll take him in on Mr. Ralph Jackson. He probably has one of the oldest hearing centers in Georgia, 58 years, and he's been doing it for 42 years. We have Miss Stacy Pridgett, Sandy Darby Bowling, and Peter Cruz here with us today. These people are representing these folks. And the gallery, are you guys up there? Great, great, great. Thank you. Thank you. These are hearing professionals that are here today because I'll assure you, sometime in your life, and I promise you, people in your family have hearing loss issues. And you cannot imagine how their life has changed with proper hearing devices and things that will make their life better. I know I take a fitness exam every year for my pilot's license, and I've watched my high-pitched hearing go from way up here to start this steady decline down to right here. And of course, I tell my doctor, I said, "Doctor, there's so much noise in the cockpit anyway, you can't hear it no matter what." But he said, "Well, you got to have that hearing. You got to have it." And I think the senator from the over at the 19th knows what I'm talking about. You got to have that hearing. But it's important, guys, it's important that we recognize that people in our families, our friends, or whatever, experience hearing loss. People consider it embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. You get the right device. These people over here fit prospective hearing devices to people and that can only be purchased through licensed hearing professionals. And that's the difference in it. And I'll tell you something else they do too. They work in rural Georgia where there may not be a hearing clinic. They'll come to you. They work with people in rural Georgia who need these devices, who can better their life and have better quality of life. So today, we recognize February the 10th as Georgia Hearing Day. And I'll assure you, I'm proud to know these folks. I'm proud of what they do. Thank you. And Mr. President, I have a resolution recognizing that. Thank you, Mr. President. You will.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for all the guests who are here today. And we greatly appreciate y'all being here, and glad to have y'all here as our guests today. So thank you for that, Senator. Recognize the senator from the 33rd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President, my fellow senators, colleagues, friends, and y'all. Just a little bit of Black history moment for you. Born in 1872, the son of former slaves, Paul Laurence Dunbar overcame abject poverty to become one of the first Black poets to achieve national acclaim. The only African American in his high school class, Dunbar excelled academically, serving as the editor of his high school newspaper and class poet. After graduating, Dunbar struggled in pursuit of his dream to become a writer, publishing his first book of poems, Oak and Ivy, in 1893, with his own money and selling copies to those riding the elevator on which he worked as an operator. Refusing to abandon his passion for writing, Dunbar published lyrics of Lowly Life in 1896, a work which received positive reviews and served to launch Dunbar's career. Although most known for his dialect poetry, which conveyed the character of the black community, Dunbar penned a large body of literary works, including essays, short stories, novels, and poems. Works which remain popular among readers of all nationalities today. And I am extending the invitation again to the senator from the 15th if he want to do his rendition of Old Man River. No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Recognize the senator from the 36th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, good morning. I want to share with you a few comments and a lamentable event that's happened here in Georgia in the wake of the reckless, dangerous, and illegal acts that are being committed in Washington by the administration of the president. With his blue ribbon seal of approval, he has unleashed Elon Musk. Who voted for Elon? I don't recall him on the ballot from what I can remember of the November 5th election. I just didn't see Elon Musk's name up. But he somehow, by using his billions of dollars, huge government contracts, I might add, he has somehow managed to be put in charge of taking apart the basic infrastructures of our democracy, taking apart agencies. There's a whole crew of them. You know, the guy that just got added to the office of to head the OMB, the guy who is a lawbreaker and who has run through the Impoundment Act and violated the law on that the last time he was up there with the first Trump presidency, and he's now in charge. And we have Elon Musk and his little 20-year-olds rifling through all of your Social Security numbers, all your financial information, anything they want to know about any American that's in that system. They're up there. The doors have been thrown open. People are being fired. People are being pushed out of their jobs. And the guy running the OMB says he wants these federal employees to wake up every morning dreading to go to work. And he calls them villains. How many villains do you all have as personal friends that are federal workers? At any rate, you can look on this and shrug it off, as the GOP members of the Senate are doing. They're participating in this, allowing these people to take these positions and strip Congress of its authority that's constitutionally mandated. You may shrug and look the other way and say, oh, that's just, well, okay, and make another excuse for what's going on in Washington. But Hitler took over the government operations in Germany in 53 or 54 days. That's what it took him, because people did not stand up against him to stop it. So right here, and you may keep on thinking, oh, we're going to weather this, it's going to get better, it's not going to last. Y'all stop worrying about this. That's just Trump being Trump. Well, we have an $80 million a year business in Fitzgerald, Georgia, that was welcomed there by our governor when they opened and expanded their operation. The name of the corporation is Manna. What does Manna do? Manna uses Georgia peanuts. We have the biggest peanut crop of any state in the country, and Manna takes those Georgia peanuts and creates a nutritional mix to give to that's used to feed malnourished children in other nations. Yes, USAID circulates and provides this product, Georgia made, Georgia grown, feeding malnourished children around the globe as part of how we win friends and influence and make a positive impact on foreign policy. The CEO got a call the other day, shut it down. He had contracts providing this nourishment, peanut-based nourishment from Georgia to USAID and other international agencies. 2 days later, once the courts got involved and slammed down this operation that was shutting down USAID, something that we've had since the 60s in this country. It's been very successful. And now they're back in operation. But I come to you to say today, there are real consequences from all of this damage that's being willfully done in Washington. And it's being done by the GOP, and anybody that proudly wears that label should understand that you're getting a real dark cloud put over that label of GOP. Stand up, find your conscience, find your backbone. Thank you very much for your attention.
Recognize the senator from the 2nd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to recognize two great Savannah natives that played in the Super Bowl on yesterday. One is Mr. Wanye Morris with the Kansas City Chiefs, who's the Super Bowl champion in 2024, and our very own Nolan Smith with the Philadelphia Eagles, who is the 2025 Super Bowl champion. Savannah has had 2 Super Bowl champions, both in 2024 and 2025. So if they ask you, does any good thing come from up I-16, you can tell them, absolutely, Mr. President, we have 2 Super Bowl champions. Colleagues, if you would, just join me in a round of applause for Mr. Wanye Morris and Mr. Nolan Smith, All-American, UGA, 2-time champion, national champion, as well as now Super Bowl champion. I think that deserves a round of applause. And I think, Mr. President, we're going to work to get Nolan Smith here. I just was texting his team. We're going to do that very soon to recognize him on the Senate floor. So thank you again, colleagues. And with that, Mr. President, I yield the well.
What high school was Nolan Smith? We'll pause for a moment so we can Google that information, but I had no idea that Nolan was from Savannah, Georgia, but we are very proud of him. We look forward to having him down here when we're able to get him. So thank you, Senator, for letting us know about that. Any other points of personal privilege? You have before you have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution on the consent calendar? Chair hears none. The resolution on the consent calendar is adopted. Recognize the senator from the 20th for a motion.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that Senate Bill 91 be withdrawn from the Committee on Insurance and Labor and be committed to the Committee on Health and Human Services.
Senator has asked for unanimous consent for SB 91 to be withdrawn from the Committee on Insurance and Labor and recommitted to Health and Human Services. Is there objection to that? Hearing none, motion granted. Moving on to the rules calendar. Secretary will read the caption of SB 8. Secretary?
Senate Bill 8 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled enact to amend Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to courts so as to provide for arrest warrant requirements when juvenile courts are acting as courts of inquiry, to amend Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to criminal procedure so as to make conforming changes, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Children and Family recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Kirkpatrick, Chairman. That can be the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the senator from the 32nd to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 8 is a department bill from the Department of Human Services. It's designed to clean up an inconsistency between Title 17, the Criminal Code, and Title 15, which includes the Juvenile Code, relating to arrest warrants. It's designed to make sure that juvenile court judges have full authority to issue arrest warrants based on probable cause, like the other judges in Title 17. They were left out of Title 17, and this bill clarifies and restates this authority while preserving the power of the district attorneys. The heart of the bill is Section 3, which clearly illustrates that issue, and that juvenile judges were omitted from the Criminal Procedure Code, creating a conflict with the arrest powers in the Juvenile Code. Section 1 has a statute in its entirety. This is a department bill because the department has a vested interest in the arrest of perpetrators of crimes against children, and any lack of clarity in our law creates a safety issue. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions and would ask for your favorable consideration.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill? All those in favor vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51 and the nays are 1. And this having received the constitutional majority is therefore passed. Moving on the rules calendar, Senate Bill 23. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 23 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 20 of Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, the Public Retirement Systems Investment Authority Law, so as to raise the limit for the total percentage of funds that the Employees Retirement System of Georgia may invest in alternative investments, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Retirement recommends that this bill do pass. So respectfully submitted, Senator Williams, Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the chairman from the 56. Speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, Senate Bill 23 is very simple. We have done similar work on our retirement systems for the POAB, which is the Police Officer Annuity Benefit Fund, as well as the Firefighter Pension Fund, where we allow them to take a certain percentage of the assets they have under management and use those for alternative investments and not simply the stock market. Think about your own personal wealth and portfolios. Most people here don't have everything they own in the stock market. You also have property. Many of you have a home that you live in, or maybe you have also a rental property. Many of us have small businesses, and we like to diversify those assets. This will do the very same thing currently with the ERS, which is the Employee Retirement System of Georgia. They are allowed to take 5% of those assets and invest them into alternative investments. This will take them to 10%. It is important to note that over the last 15 years, the rate of returns of their alternative investments has far outpaced the market, between 4 and 4.5% higher. Why this is also good, not just for the benefit of the retirement plans, it also allows us as state government to have to appropriate less money to those retirement funds to keep them solvent. This is good, practical diversification of investments. And if there are no questions, I would yield the well.
You do have a question, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 26th. So you want to ask a question, or you want to come speak? Ask a question.
Senator, what happens if they take the money and when they invest it and the folks belly up, who's going to have to pay the difference in?
It's a great question, Senator. Thank you for bringing it up. It's really no different, though, than if you invest in the stock market. Sometimes stocks fail, and the goal is to have a balanced portfolio, and I have very good confidence and trust that the folks that are managing those funds are picking safe and secure investments, nothing that's too far out there to do that. This just gives them another tool in their toolbox.
Senator from the 7th, you have a question?
Does the Senator yield?
I yield.
Upon reading this bill, I noticed that the teachers were not included in the reform. So if you could tell me more about that, that'd be great.
Each one of the retirement systems come forward and ask for this. We began many years ago with the Firefighter Pension Fund. They were at 5%. They moved to 10 and 15. Same with the POAB. ERS has concluded, based on their work, that they would like to be the next ones. It'll be incumbent upon the folks that lead that retirement system to come back and request that. They have not at this point, but I would surely want to help them if that's their prerogative.
Thank you.
One last question, Senator. Senator from the 36th.
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Does Senator yield?
Certainly.
When we heard this in committee, Senator, there was no data presented other than an assertion from you that they were doing great, they were outperforming other assets, investments. And then I've learned since then that may have been a bit off kilter, that the data doesn't support that the assets are underperforming that have been in this alternative investment. What kind of numbers, real numbers, do you have to support the bill?
Certainly, Senator. That was one of the requests, and that was emailed back out to the chairman and the committee members of what those specific investments were. Over a 15-year period, they are performing between 4 and 4.5% higher than the traditional investments. And I want you to think about, in the last 15 years, we've lived through a great recession. We've seen some of the largest volatility in the stock market, both from that, obviously the swings with COVID, with international crises and conflicts. But like any investment, you have to look over more than just a 1 or 2 year period. But alternative investments are very smart, and I'm sure you have some of them yourselves. I'm sure you have a home, and you've invested in something outside of just the stock market. All it does is give them the ability to look at different ways to do that, so they can make sure that there's a diverse portfolio to ultimately protect that. And again, we want those funds to continue to rise and have a higher percentage of funding.
Just to clarify, and thank you for that response. Just to clarify, this was not requested by the people who run the ERS retirement system, was it?
This was requested by the people that run the Employer Retirement System of Georgia. In fact, we had the director and deputy at the meeting, and the director was the one that came up and answered those questions.
I got the impression that he said, I'm just here to be here, but...
This is, without question, an agency bill.
And this similarly passed the Senate last year, did it not? Or the year before last?
We have passed it for, again, the Police Officer Annuity Benefit Fund. You voted for that, as well as the Firefighter Pension Fund, as well as getting both the ERS and TRS from nothing to 5%. This is just, again, giving the opportunity to go to 5 to 10%.
Thank you for entertaining my question.
You do have one more question, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 55th.
Will the senator yield?
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I am also on that committee, and I think I heard you say that there was an email sent out of data, because I had, in that committee, I requested some information, I just didn't see it. So I will believe the chairman at his word on that, and I do want to see that data, because I think that's critical. Thank you very much.
Certainly, Senator. Thank you for being so thorough.
Thank you.
You have no more questions, Senator. You have no more questions, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 47, the nays are 8. This bill, having received the prerequisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Secretary will read SB 35.
Senate Bill 35 by Senator Walker of the 20th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-24-46 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to cancellation or non-renewal of certain property insurance policies so as to increase the number of days of notice required to be given a policyholder before the non-renewal of his or her homeowner's insurance policy, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Walker, Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 35, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-24-46 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to the cancellation or non-renewal of certain property insurance policies so as to increase the number of days of notice required to be given a policyholder and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Recognize the distinguished insurance chair, the man from Perry, Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Senate, I bring you a good consumer protection bill that I think you all will want to vote for. I hope so. For the last probably 5 years, we've seen a hardening of the insurance market for a lot of the different lines of coverage, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, business insurance. And I've been in the business 29 years. I've never seen it so tight as far as the underwriting criteria and the difficulty to place coverage. As a result of that, we are seeing more and more non-renewals of people's homeowners insurance. And for most folks, their home is their biggest asset, and protecting their home with insurance is of critical importance. The insurance statute requires that a policyholder be sent by the mail a non-renewal notice, and they have to be sent that within 30 days of the non-renewal. With the way the mail operates and the difficulty in replacing coverage, I believe it's in the best interest of Georgians that we increase that time frame from 30 days to 60 days to give the consumer more time to respond and react, and to give the insurance agent that's working with them more time to help them find replacement coverage or either get the carrier to rescind the non-renewal. Oftentimes, the insurance premium is paid through their mortgage payment, through the escrow, and a lot of times homeowners insurance is kind of out of mind, out of sight, out of mind for the consumer, and they may not even open the mail that they get. I mean, they may think it's a solicitation or junk mail. So we just need to give them more time to make sure that their most important asset is covered by insurance and protected. That's all the bill does. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any, Mr. President. Otherwise, I ask for your favorable consideration.
You do have a couple questions, Senator. Recognize Senator from the 51st.
Will the Senator yield?
Yes, sir.
I'm a little worried about the language on line 14 there. Is this some kind of an attempt to pass tort reform this session, Senator?
Well, I hope we are going to have some meaningful tort reform that passes this body, and I'm sure you're doing all you can to make sure that happens.
Well, I appreciate your efforts here today. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Recognize Senator from the 14th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the chairman yield?
Yes, sir.
Chairman, good vibes. Voting for your bill, feeling great. Just a question about it. Isn't it true that it's the exclusive province of states, not the exclusive, but the predominant province of states to do insurance regulation, to regulate the insurance industry?
Yes, states, insurance is regulated by each individual state. Yes, sir.
And do you further yield?
Yes, sir.
Does a senator join me in just amazing joy and good vibes, just feeling good that comes from a little bit of insurance regulation to protect consumers? Does the senator join me in that joy?
I think it's important. I think that's what we're here to do, is look after our folks, and that's what this bill does.
Make a joyful noise into the chamber. Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you. All right, I'll yield the well. Thank you.
It's all about the consumer, Senator. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Questions on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor will vote yea. All opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 55 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the prerequisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Consumer friendly. Moving on to SB 6. Secretary, read the caption.
Senate Bill 6 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 26-3-22 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to other laws unaffected by the Georgia Drug and Cosmetic Act so as to authorize the use of testing equipment to determine whether a controlled substance has been adulterated, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Watson, the 1st District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 6, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 26-3-22 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated related to other laws unaffected by the Georgia Drug and Cosmetic Act so as to authorize the use of drug analysis equipment and controlled substance packaging to determine whether a controlled substance has been adulterated and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Recognize the senator from the 32nd to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. As all of you know, drug overdoses are a big problem in all of our districts, and many families, probably some in this chamber, have been affected by overdose deaths. In 2022, we passed a bill authorizing fentanyl test strips to legalize tools to check drugs for adulterating substances and opioids like fentanyl. Now there's a non-opioid drug called xylazine. It's a horse tranquilizer, commonly known as Tranq, that's causing harm to Georgians and deaths. There's a wide range of other adulterants and even industrial chemicals that are harming Georgians, and it's not known what the next adulterant or street drug will be, whether opioid or not. This bill simply broadens the bill that we passed previously to include tools like xylazine test strips and tests for other adulterants. I don't condone drug use, and I work hard on prevention and recovery efforts. However, while we're working on longer-term solutions, our citizens are dying, and I hope that you'll agree that saving lives is a high priority for all of us. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions, Senator.
Thank you.
Does any senator wish to speak for or against the measure? Chair hears none. Is there objection to the previous question being ordered? Chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Question is on the adoption of the committee by substitute, or as committee substitute. Is there objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor will vote yea. All those opposed, nay. Secretary, unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 55 and the nays are 0. This having received the prerequisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Recognize the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, February the 11th.
Majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. February 11th. Secretary, read the announcements.
Mr. President, the Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment in room 450 in the Capitol. At 1 p.m., the Public Safety Committee will meet in room 450 in the Capitol. At 2 p.m., the Health and Human Services Committee will meet in room 450 in the Capitol. At 3 p.m., the Finance Committee will meet in Mez 1. At 4 p.m., the Judiciary Committee will meet in room 307 in the CLOB. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Any other announcements? No more announcements. Senator from the 14th. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. Mr. President, I just want to say that I served as the chair today of the Committee on Assignments this morning. Did your work, served you, the Senate, behind closed doors. You didn't see it happen, but just know I've always got your back whenever you appoint me chairman of a committee. So it went swimmingly. Thank you again, Mr. President.
For those who didn't hear him, the young senator from DeKalb County served as the chair. Cobb County, wherever you're from. Well, the good chair served as the chairman of the Committee on Assignments today. We appreciate him. We keep building that resume. I know CNN's calling anytime now. I know they're calling anytime. You're better than most people who are hosting on that show right now, currently. So I got you back 100% on that. Any other announcements? Recognize the senator from the second. State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is it not true that the senator from the 14th is getting what we call on-the-job training?
Tell you what, he's sharp now. You better watch him. Recognize the senator from the 54th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just remind everybody, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, as every Tuesday, we would love to have you come be a part of the Legislative Fellowship, and it's going to take place in room 132, Cap 132 tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Recognize the senator from the 42nd.
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is the senator from the 14th going to be the chairman all day on the Committee on Assignments? Because I'm looking for ex officios this evening. Should I go talk to him?
No, he won't be available this afternoon for ex officio, but we will make him chair of the Committee on Assignments again, though. I will. So, any other thing there, Senator? You just look after the people's business this afternoon, all right? All right. Majority Leader has moved that we stand adjourned until tomorrow, February 11th, 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The ayes clearly have it. We're adjourned.